Duel is a 2022 science fiction thriller film written and directed by Riley Stearns, who you might recognize as the same guy that brought us The Art of Self-Defense, which was a movie that I couldn't help but praise as being incredibly unique and hilarious. So when I heard that he was making another movie, I was overwhelmingly curious as to what else he had brewing in store. This film specifically stars Gillan as a young woman that learns that she has an extremely rare illness that is slowly but painlessly killing her, and to live on, she agrees to have herself cloned. All's well until she learns that, oopsies, she's not really dying after all, and so legally, she and her clone must duel to the death because there can't be two of them. As weird as it sounds, this was one of my higher anticipated films of the year because I think that Riley Stearns is a writer-director that we should all be paying attention to. I think that he's going to be more and more catapulted into the mainstream based off of his oddball, subtle sense of humor that is unlike anything else. Now, The Art of Self-Defense is listed as a comedy, so in that sense, he was able to really showcase how weird his sense of humor really can be, while this is listed as a thriller, so it plays off a lot more straightforwardly, but some of that sense of humor definitely spills through anyway. I remember the conversation with the doctor who says she has a 0% chance of living through it, but they're only 98% sure it's a fatal disease, and the look on Karen Gillan's face like, wait, no, the math doesn't add up. So even though it's not a comedy, his weird, subtle, dry sense of humor definitely is sprinkled throughout the film. And honestly, that's what really kept me engaged throughout. There's also this monotone way of acting that you see in both movies that I think that Jesse Eisenberg does incredibly well and really naturally, which is why The Art of Self-Defense really struck a chord with me. He was perfect for it. Karen Gillan is essentially doing the same exact thing as Jesse Eisenberg, so you know, that monotone, matter-of-fact acting, which for Jesse's perfect, it's hilarious. But for her, I don't know, I don't think that she necessarily fits that role as naturally as Jesse would, but she does okay. You're gonna appreciate it more so for the fact that it is Karen Gillan than thinking that she actually fits the role as well as she could. Also, again, narratively, both films essentially mirror each other, meaning by the end of the film, you're going to expect something that you're not going to get. There's a buildup of events throughout both films where naturally you would expect some kind of grand finale. But just like in my review of the other one, I'm just going to tell you, don't expect it. It's not interested in following the typical structure found in every movie. It's way more interested in character development and proving a point, relaying a message, making the audience think. For The Art of Self-Defense, I was thrown by the ending, not gonna lie, but ultimately I appreciated it once I thought about it. Duel does something similar, but I couldn't get on board with it. Even though I understood what they were going for, I just didn't think it was warranted or earned, and that most everything else in the movie felt disregarded or pointless. There's nothing more frustrating for me than when a movie feels like it partially wastes your time, even by slightly. That's enough to have me cross my arms in frustration and sigh a little bit. It's not a bad movie by any means. I think that a lot of the cinematography is beautiful. I think the dry humor sprinkled throughout the film is great. I think that the concept is honestly alluring for a lot of people. I know that even if I didn't know who the director was, I would have checked out the film because I love clone movies. It has a lot going for it, honestly, but this writer-director Riley Stearns, I both love his work and get frustrated at how he chooses to end his movies. Definitely an acquired taste kind of guy. So looking at my final score for a second, I'll throw that up. You'll get an idea of what I think about it. For me, it was better from a technical perspective, so it's smart with things like dialogue, writing, concept, cinematography, etc. However, my bias score was a little bit lower because certain things about it turned me off, like how I didn't think Karen Gillan was 100% right for the role, and I just didn't care that much for the ending. But together, my unbiased score and my bias score, they come to an okay score of 68% overall, 68 out of 100 possible stars, or a final letter grade of C+ on my letter grading scale. So I expected more from it. I think that a lot of the film is going to hinge on that bias. I have heard people praise it. I've heard people call the ending perfect and poetic, and I actually understand where they're coming from, but I personally didn't love it. But what about you guys? Have you watched Duel yet? And if you have, what did you think about it? Am I crazy? Did you actually think that the ending was perfect? Why or why not? And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace!